Hey guys, welcome to another production meeting.
We're
We're
off to a
all
good
here.
start.
We are off of, good Lord, somebody else talk now.
Hi.
We did things. We're gonna
Welcome.
talk about
We did
things.
things. Okay.
We do this every week, except sometimes not.
Yes. This week we are talking Dune and Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action Netflix series. We're gonna talk some news and what we have been watching. So, what have you guys been up to?
I have not nearly watched as much stuff as you guys, so you go ahead, and I'll be the period right at the end.
I might
Here,
also
Uh,
be near the bottom of the list. Usually I've got a bunch of stuff, but it's been so crazy. We haven't caught a whole lot. We've missed the last like four or five movies, I think. I don't remember if I had mentioned Bob Marley the last time we did a video, but I've already forgotten
yes.
about Bob Marley, so okay.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I saw Les Mis in Dolby, but that's not a new movie, so that doesn't really count.
Hugh
Um,
Jackman, like Miz?
oh yeah, they did a
Nice.
Dolby re-release. It was actually really cool. It did really well for its limited run, and I'm happy because here we are, 12 years later, and they finally fixed the sound. What an earnest mistake recording your sound on set is. Um, it's everybody sounds like what am I talking about a 12-year-old movie for? So I saw Anatomy of a Fall,
Yay.
the French Best Picture winner, uh, Best Picture nominee. This is how I'm gonna be tonight, I guess. It was really good. I highly recommend it. If you guys haven't seen Anatomy of a Murder with Jimmy Stewart, which was up for Best Picture against Ben-Hur in 1959, I'm not impressed. I happened to just watch Anatomy of a Murder and Ben-Hur, not knowing they were up against each other, so it just was like really fresh in my head.
Mm.
They're a great pair, is all I mean. I like a movie that can just take like a subgenre and dissect it really well. And this was a really interesting, kind of gripping little drama thriller. I really enjoyed it. Um, Great performances. I'm really glad it won the Oscar for Best Screenplay. Great time. Probably would have been in my best of the year had I seen it before I did my best of the year. Um, on a side note, I've been revisiting Scream movies, and I want to retrospectively put Scream 6 higher on my list, like Alex had it, just for kicks of mentioning that. Um,
I feel
watched a couple
betrayed.
episodes. Yeah, I watched a couple episodes of Shogun. Wait, what did you say?
So I feel betrayed.
Oh, yeah, I watched a couple episodes of Shogun. It's good. It's like it's taken us a bit to get into it, but I think that has less to do with the show and more to do with just the fact that we're like, oh, it's an hour long, so let's spend an entire day being exhausted moving stuff and then watch it at 11 at night. So, but it's good. I like it. We just finished the second episode. Got really interesting by the end. So,
Mm.
I don't think it's the like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's really good. And maybe it's worth that. I don't know. Last thing I saw, and I feel bad already talking about this over Dune because I feel like I'm going to talk about this more positively than Dune. I saw Cabrini in theaters. It's this. I don't know if you guys even got it. It's by
we
Angel
we did.
Studios. Um, Alex, I want a poster. It's my favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
Which has
Mm.
happened already. Like it was Lisa Frankenstein, then Dune, then Cabrini, real quick. But I we saw it last night. I freaking loved it. Uh, Angel Studios already did like a really great job with Sound of Freedom. I was like, oh, this feels like a real movie. Like, not to down any other movies that are ever made, but when they just like, oh, this really good for a little low budget movie. No, like Sound of Freedom felt like a real movie, and it's like they like stretched and they were like, okay, yeah, but what if we did a 2.5 hour drama, half in Italian with heavy period production design and a killer score and Oscar worthy performances? It's really good. It's like a
Correct
gripping
me if
movie.
I'm wrong. Not only is that Angel Studios, it's also the same director
I don't know.
as as
Uh,
um as Sound of Freedom.
Let me check. I'm kind of
I
curious.
think I think that's the case. Um,
It
I've I,
is.
I thought that was, yeah. I think that's what it said on the the it
This
said
guy made Little Boy.
uh
That movie sucks.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, something, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it is the same
So,
director. Wow, he is busy. Um,
mhm.
it's really good. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, just churning
It's
out hit after hit.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Critics don't like it, so you know it just has me saying that critics are just really biased. It's like barely even a faith-based movie. It's just
Mhm.
a real person and a struggle to open an orphanage in an Italian immigrant area of New York, and it's just a really, really riveting thriller. I thought it was fantastic.
Hmm.
Easy 9 out of 10 from me. I'll probably get to the end of the year, and it'll slowly move down the list as dramas do every time I get to the end of the year. For now, I'm just like super, super hot on it. So highly recommend it. Um, that's what I've seen.
Um,
Sweet.
did that was that like personal? I think I heard maybe somebody was talking about something else. When we were talking about Cabrini at some point, and I think were there parts that were in Italian that didn't have subtitles, and it just relied on like visual cues and like
Um,
body language?
no, not really. But what they
Oh,
do
okay.
every once in a while, they have like some very you get this a lot of times when it's like people are being really quick and expressive and they don't subtitle it because it's
Yeah.
obvious kind of what they mean. There's a couple
Okay.
moments like that, and I think it's because often the characters are kind of struggling to go back and forth between English and Italian, and it's a really great way to kind of transition the difficulty of having to adapt a whole other language because of the pressure of the country you're trying to live in.
Huh. It's a good recommendation. I've had, like I've been on the fence. Do I want to or not? So maybe this
I mean,
recommendation pushes me over.
it's a 2.5 hour drama. I think it's really, really, really compelling. If you get into it and you're not into it like 20, 30 minutes in, the rest of it won't change you. I loved it like
Okay.
all the way throughout. It might not be for everybody. It's definitely for me, but I also can sit down and watch a lot of 2.5 hour dramas really easily. I just thought, I don't know, it was like a character who like metaphorically rolls up their sleeves and is ready for a fist fight, bought it in in this like quiet conservative nun. It's just such a great character. Not literally, but like it's great stuff.
Huh.
It's great stuff. I said before we started or to myself that I wouldn't talk about Cabrini that long because we have other things to talk about. Hi, Becca.
Hey, Becca.
Guest character. All right.
They were
Well,
trying to
like I
be
said, I
sneaky.
haven't watched much, so Clint, go ahead.
I didn't actually watch that much either. I did Shogun. I watched the first couple episodes of Shogun. I really liked Shogun. And maybe it's just that my shouldn't say like obsession, but my love for feudal Japan. Um, because I watched like a couple of like the behind the scenes stuff and how much they put into detail of the show and like as far as like even them walking and their mannerisms and stuff like that, which I thought was really interesting. I did binge watch The Gentleman. Um,
We
if
forgot
you
about that.
liked if you liked the movie, you'll definitely like the show.
Hmm.
Um, they call it, what's funny is that like they call it a spin-off, but it's not really even a spin-off, because it doesn't deal with any of the characters from the movie. It has kind of the same premise as like Matthew McConaughey's character from the movie, and that's literally the only thing that they kind of take besides like the energy, some of the comedy and like some of the action and like stuff like that. But other than it being a spin-off, like it's a very, very loose spin-off. Um,
Hmm.
because it's Theo James inherits his father's estate and title and stuff like that, and he finds out that like these British gangsters are growing weed in like one of it like under his dairy farm, I think. And that's where like the similarities between well, I mean like the plot similarities between the movie and the show kind of like stop. But other than that, like it gets the same energy and stuff like that as far as the show goes or the movie goes. And I just found myself like Amy and Quinn were in Raleigh over the weekend. I watched like 6 episodes in a row just because I was just kind of enthralled with some of these characters and the like the situations they get themselves in. But yeah, if you guys like like the movie, you'd like the show. The show's pretty cool. And
Huh.
then Avatar, so which we'll talk about a little bit later. but that's all
Well,
I've
I
watched.
also, uh, obviously Avatar and then Dune. In fact, I had a time to do get Dune in twice actually, and then yeah, which I think is needed because not to be that like the broken record or cliche of like, oh man, you missed stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, I missed stuff the first time.
Yeah.
And stuff like it helps. It's kind of like when I watched I can't Across the Spider-Verse. No, yeah, Across the Spider-Verse once, and then I took Clint to go watch it again. And because I knew things towards the end, it made me see them when they referenced like the endings are referenced in the middle, and it just makes it that much better. And like there are moments kind of similar in this. So I was able to catch that twice, and then I really haven't been doing anything else except um getting ready for Final Fantasy Rebirth by playing Crisis Core Reunion. I think I'd probably been playing starting at least to play it on our last video, and I'm like 40-ish hours into the game. Just gives, backstory on Zack Fair, a very pivotal character in the Final Fantasy plot or Final Fantasy VII plot. So it's just kind of a polished up sort of remake of a PSP game. So that's what I've been doing most of the time since our last video. So
Do you
almost
think
done with that.
do
Mhm.
you think games like that take like lots of little ping pong balls and write cool words on it and put them in like a bingo wheel
Um,
and just
sometimes
pick out
yes,
whatever
like
cool words come out?
and I'm a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, and it can be a little bit like that. There's Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, Recoded, A Chain of Memories, 358 over 2 days. Some of these don't make sense over yeah.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, a lot of them you don't have to.
I'm just now
They don't
learning.
really make sense.
I didn't know any
Yeah,
of that. That's great. That's amazing.
and
Yeah.
I mean it would make sense because a lot of that is Final Fantasy, just obviously
What
infused with Disney. So,
what makes me
um,
laugh though is that all of those titles that he just dropped are not the main titles either,
no,
which is so bizarre to me because it's like because the main titles is Kingdom Hearts, one, two, and three, and then all the titles that he dropped are like all
but
the
they are all
sub games.
very necessary, all very necessary. Except Coded. Coded, there's Coded and then there's Recoded, and I hate those. They're not necessary except for like one pivotal plot point towards the end, I think. And Birth by Sleep, greatest Kingdom Hearts handheld version you can play. Drew Drop Distance, whatever. Chain of Memories, good, but such a gimmicky like card system gameplay.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I could get used to it, but would I prefer not to have it? Yes.
Hmm.
And then there's obviously the numerical titles of one, two, and three. Two being the probably all-time greatest Kingdom Hearts game you could ever play. It's got a great
Yeah.
story, and the game is fluid. It's faster. It's way more fun. So yeah, Final Fantasy Square Enix can get kind of crazy with the names. So they went with the stuff. Like there was remake, reunion, rebirth, and then whatever the last title, if there's going to be one. I don't know yet. I think
Rename.
there's going to be rename.
I'll
So
leave
that's
now.
get out, go to your room. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been doing for the most part. I want to say I caught something else that I'm forgetting. It'll probably come to me later, but I'm pretty sure that's covered everything since our last video. So
Oh,
yeah.
I watched Poor Things. Sorry.
Oh
You just
man.
said that, and I was like, what did I forget? Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched Poor Things. I can understand when we go into the Oscars, I can understand why they won the technical ones that they did for
Yeah.
costumes and stuff like that. Which we'll get into a bit later. I know that like there has been like a talk of like the amount of intimate scenes that was in there. I can
Yeah.
say that there was like a few of them like that were consistent, like were back to back to back because I don't know if you two are ever gonna watch this, but like she
Oh,
finds.
I've seen it.
Probably
Oh,
not.
have
I
you seen
know.
it? Okay.
I have seen it. Yeah.
So I missed like the last, I shouldn't say that I've seen it. I've watched up to like the last 30 minutes of it. Is there any more than that?
Not really.
That's what
No.
I thought because it was just like that right up front, and then because she discovers sex or whatever, and then I think from there it just kind of like goes off into her like adventure. But I wouldn't say it was excessive. It was just there's a good
Yeah,
like
yes and no, and yeah, it's just like it's so touchy feel. Like, I mean, this is remember when we talked about this is a long time, this is years ago now, when we all did Pieces of a Woman.
yeah
I think I've even mentioned this on a previous video. I feel like I've talked about this. This is like one of those where it's such a great movie that I would never recommend to somebody because of such the graphic nature of it. Whereas like
yeah
Piece of a Woman was not graphic, just really, really heavy stuff. You got infidelity, you've got suicide, you've got, just all this kind of heavy stuff. And it's just like,
yeah
it's hard to recommend something like that to just go and to a movie, even just sitting at home and watching it, because, you
yeah
want to escape that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
yeah. I
Poor Things is not bad. It's just,
it's not bad. I agree.
mm,
I think it's just that because there's like that 10-minute window that it's nonstop for like a
yeah.
good 5 to 10 minutes, and then after that it's like gone. So it's not excessive. I guess it depends on like what your definition of excessive is. But yeah, I think it's just because it's like within the first hour.
Ryan, if you ever, are questioning it, I mean, I don't feel like I'm morally questionable after it. Like, I don't feel like
Yeah, I
I don't know. It's
stick to
like,
your guns, Ryan.
yeah, don't let me sway you. I'm just saying it's
Yeah,
like I even have I'm flipping both sides of the coin here. I've said it's a great movie, but I don't know if I would ever really recommend it. So
yeah,
I'm like,
If
see it
if I was ever
if
gonna
you're
watch it,
convinced to.
if I was ever gonna watch it, it would have been before the Oscars. And now that the
Yeah.
Oscars are over, my interest that was already there is waned enough for me to say, yeah, I
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, do you guys want to quickly do talk about Dune, or we want to go into the news real quick?
All right, we're gonna do our spoiler-free Dune.
Yeah, do
yes,
spoilers.
sure.
I mean,
Ryan, go ahead. Paint the pic,
Well,
be the frame. I
so
don't know.
story-wise, Dune Part Two picks up almost immediately after the first, where Paul and Jessica have to work together to, well, not together, they have to work to kind of incorporate themselves into the Fremen, and Paul basically leads the Fremen in kind of a rebellion against the Harkonnens, while the Harkonnens are trying to crack down and boost spice production. They have a couple new characters that they bring in, a couple more things are happening with the Imperium. A lot of stuff happens. And if you don't mind, Alex, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, yeah, please go for it.
Like Alex said, and actually, I think for different reasons. Like Alex said, now Alex and I have actually texted about this previously. We seem to be in the minority because everybody who's watched this movie, which is a lot of people because it's doing really well, said it's the greatest movie ever. It's currently
Mhm.
number 11 on IMDb of all time. I am so happy for it. I don't know how I'm behind as far as feelings go, considering I seem to like the first one more than everybody else, and the second one less than almost everybody else. It's really good. But what Alex said earlier about watching it twice, if you don't love it the first time, but you feel like there's some part of you missing something, there's two things happening. First is that there's a lot happening. And the second
Mhm.
is because the second half of the book, and you can see this in the miniseries, which transitions really well, and the 80s film, which transitions horribly, the second half of the story is radically different than the first half of the story. And it's that adjustment period going from one movie to another, which, like I said, in the miniseries, it kind of breaks it in the middle of an episode. So you get 90 minutes of politics, and then you transition gracefully into religion, and then you have the wrap up there. 80s movies like, oh crap, we got 30 minutes left. Throw the whole second half in there. But the nice break in the middle, it's wonderful for pacing. I can't wait to watch these movies back to back. But jumping straight from part one to part two, with whether or not it's a gap, I guess I did watch it back to back. I watched it Dune part one twice last month. But point being, it's really dense. There's a lot in it. There's character changes. There's new characters. There's major themes. There's a lot going on, and everybody in the world seems to adore it. So I don't know what else I could say about the movie other than it's really good. I went from an 8 to a 9 on my second watch. It's it's a lighter 9 for me so far, but I'm also going again this Saturday. So take that, Cabrini. I'm going to go see Dune for a third time. What do I know? No, it's just there's a lot to it. It does make you want to go back and rewatch it. And you know, I guess the most helpful piece of advice I could give to anybody going to watch it, which the internet has already pretty much let everybody know, I did not know this. Part three is definitely happening, and I thought part two was just going to kind of wrap up everything very neatly in a bow. Not that the book does that or the miniseries does that. I don't know why I expected that. I just didn't know. I didn't know part three was like a for sure thing until this movie made $300 million. So I thought it was great. I could go into some details, but Alex, do you want to share your thoughts a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. And I do apologize if my internet is a little janky because I feel like I freeze and then y'all I'm like, oh, I'm the one standing still. But anyway, my thoughts. Ryan's right on with the with like I also thought, okay, this is a part two. This is where this ends. This is a clear cut. Like, sure, we'll probably put off some type of end credit scene where ooh, what happens next? But like, without giving anything away, it is very, very clear that there is going to be another one, not a if. Like,
Yeah,
it would be
and
very incomplete. Yes. Go
yeah,
ahead, Ryan.
and in our defense, that is not a spoiler. It's just something I wish I actually knew going into it
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's like you settle in much better with the way the tone goes in the third act, knowing
Mhm.
that it's not the end of the story.
Yeah, you know what? And that's right. I think that's right because like I said before, knowing what you knew then, it just kind of you can kind of adjust yourself to the way it just kind of, ebbs and flows. I like the music. The music's solid. The story. So with these, it's and Frank Herbert gave a lot of inspiration to George Lucas when he was making Star Wars. So that's why like Tatooine is very deserty and stuff like that. So like and the whole what is it? Benny Gesserit kind of like the voice is kind of probably the same like the whole Jedi mind trick kind of thing. I was like, so there's a lot of influence. So I say that because there's a lot of learning of characters' names and kind of their religion and their customs and their words for stuff. So there's a lot of that going on. So when you're like trying to piece, okay, they mean when they say this, they mean this. When they say this person, it's really this person, and so on and so on. So you're just trying to play not catch up, but you're trying to learn and then when you get that stuff into the places you mentally need to be, when you go back, you have that as a foundation, and you're like, okay, I know what this means. Now I can focus on more or less the situation that they're trying to do, like you know, um, uh, Paul's ascent to wherever he needs to be, and I we've just mentioned it already. Like there's so many more novels to this, and we I think Ryan nailed it where we weren't sure if this was like it's surprising that it finishes the way it does like oh we know we're going to do a part three when we didn't know how successful it was going to be. So I mean, but if you look at like what there's Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor Dune, and then there's like two maybe three other novels.
Like five,
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot. There's a lot of Dune stuff, and there's even like less accredited beyond that I've looked into. I mean, I've actually started. I've got my copy of Dune. I've started to, I've never actually read it. I only ever read the first chapter, not because I disliked it or anything. I just that's all I was able to get done when I started reading when part one came out, and so I've gone back and I'm going to start reading that and there's a lot to it. Ryan said it. There's so much density. There's so much story. But it's a great movie. I don't think I agree that it's like, oh man, it is a masterpiece among masterpieces. Blah blah blah. it's good. It's really good. My opinion, Ryan loved number one. I know he gave it a 10 out of 10. I remember that.
I should preface two things also. Fellowship is my favorite Lord of the Rings. I really love intros, and I like the first half of Dune's story a lot better,
Hmm.
which I've now
Right.
solidified in my mind,
I,
having liked
I'm
the first half of all three versions better.
right. Oh, so yeah, you have more exposure, so you know just yeah, generally where it goes and kind of like their interpretation of it. So you have that. Um, I don't know which I like more, part one and part two. Like Matt and I watched part two, and I was like, this is as equal quality as the first one, in my opinion, which I didn't get, Gaga over. I said it was an eight. I thought this one was an eight. Went and watched it again with Ashley, and she really liked it. And I was like, there are parts that I was like, oh, I totally missed that. I totally missed that, and um, even like working a day, I saw a part, I was like, oh, I missed that even after the second time. Um, so, and it just, we say it's dense, but at the same time, I was like, this is all pretty concise. Once you know where it's going, it's actually pretty like linear. You can see the path that they're taking, and it's actually pretty straight on. Um, it is a great movie. I would say I like this just a hair more now than part one. I give this an 8.5. Previous one still an 8. We rewatched number one, going before watching this one, and I was like, felt the same way. As I did the first time I ever watched it. I was like, this is solid. You know, I'm not in love with this, but this is a really good movie. I own it. I mean, that's why we're able to watch it. Um, that really, really good acting, really good music. It swells up, it gets you in there. And I don't understand. People have said, "Oh my gosh, this one's so great. It has so much action." And I'm like,
Yeah,
there's moments, yes, there's moments, but they make
it's
it sound
very
like it's just
exciting.
dripping,
Yeah,
dripping with battle scenes. And I'm like, it's not. It really isn't. There's like
yeah,
two or three that really stick out of my mind, and that's it.
yeah.
That's it.
It's something I've noted as well, and I'm so glad people are saying that because it means people are watching a really weird. Thank you, I love you. A really weird, like 2 hour, 45 minute sci-fi nonsense movie that they would not have watched and are loving it. And I'm so glad people are like, oh, it's so exciting. And I'm like, that leads me into one of the things I really, really like about the movie is sorry, I was dying. Um, Dune One
Good thing you're
has,
not
I
on
think,
Dune.
I know. I even got. I don't know if you guys got those. You probably didn't. The AMC had like still big, thick, still suit tumbler water bottles, and I was like, oh, I have to
Um,
get it because I bet it doesn't lose more than a thimble full a day. And Rachel rolled her eyes and bought it for me.
that's good.
Um,
That's good
but I
stuff.
should have brought it. I should have worn my Dune shirt. I didn't prep for this at all. Um, but one thing I really liked about this one, because I think the first one has a blend of amazing moments that are both action heavy and drama heavy. And this one, I was like, okay, the action's pretty great. And there was even a couple moments near the end the second time where I was like, okay, I'm getting chills going into this thematically. Really, because Zendaya deserves an Oscar nomination. She's fantastic. She's
Yeah,
fantastic.
really
Um,
is.
Favorite one of the cast of part two. But there's moments in this movie where I was like so into the emotions and the feelings of quiet conversations where it's I mean there's the one that's been in like every trailer where they're just sitting on the sand dune talking about water on Caladan, and that scene is like the best scene in the movie for me. And it's just Paul and Chani talking, and Zimmer's like trying to win an Oscar in the background. It's great. It's got really great stuff, and I think that's what made it for me the second time. Was I was like, because I'm with you, Alex. Like, it's got exciting moments. It's got action. I don't think the action, it's got like Fade fights some people in a Coliseum. I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of a big action sequence, but everyone seems to just love those. And who might disagree with people loving it? Like,
Oh yeah. I think one of the big key points is going into this. We kept it's actually kind of weird. Like, why aren't we just learning of these like when casting comes out, or
yeah,
like we kept hearing, oh man, Florence Poe's in it. um, oh gosh, who is Elvis? Austin
Austin
Butler.
Butler.
Famous
Yeah.
musician from the 50s.
Oh, right. No, go to your room. No, Austin Butler. We kept getting, this person's in it, then this person, Anya Taylor-Joy's in it, and I thought, okay, you're putting a lot of more people that are pretty recognizable in a movie, and is it going to be distracting? And surprisingly, no, it's not at all. It worked super well. I was like, that was the best part for me. The fact that, it wasn't a too many cooks kind of deal.
It's
Um,
it's
yeah,
yet again the smartest use of stunt casting I've ever seen. How do you
yeah,
remember who a character's name is? Don't remember it's that famous person from that movie. There you go.
yeah.
Move on with your movie. Then, like,
That's
does
effective.
Dave Bautista need to be Raban? No. Is he great? Yes. Does he need to be Raban? No. Do we remember who he is because he's Dave Bautista? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I even struggle to remember a lot of characters' names. I go based on context, and yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about it now until you said that. Yeah, it's smart and it's effective. And it doesn't distract you. It's like what do you call it? It's like a highlighter. It gets you to remember that because of that face. So yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's a great movie. It will so far easily my best one of this year. I mean, I've only seen, like, including this, four movies from this year, and one of which technically isn't even a movie, in Demon Slayer. So, you know, no,
Theatrical release, you can count it.
I mean,
Kind
it's
of.
not going up against Dune isn't going up against much, but it's gonna stay there for a while. Unless something absolutely, like, stuns me, like kind of like how Godzilla did. I have a good feeling that Dune will stay at my number one, but who's to know? So,
I'll
but
see.
Clint,
I'll
you need
see.
to you need to go out and watch it. You need to
Yeah.
go out and watch it at
I'll
some
see if
point.
it
Yes.
returns to number one this Saturday for me.
Yay.
I also should
Dune
mention, I
Part
don't
2.
know if any of you guys are interested, or anybody listening. So the sci-fi miniseries, I think from 2000 or 2001, and the sequel series Children of Dune, which I think was 2003.
Mhm.
I think they're all on YouTube. They're definitely free to watch somewhere very legally. Um, they're sci-fi budgets, but so the first miniseries is just the story Dune, in three 90-minute episodes. Children of Dune, the first episode of Dune Messiah is Dune Messiah, and the next two are Children of Dune.
Mhm.
Those two star James McAvoy. Those shows are really, really well written. They're not like perfect because they're early 2000s sci-fi originals, but I watched those like a year before the movie came out. So for a little bit, they were like my definitive version. But if you guys are interested in like having your handheld going into the Dune series further as it gets weirder and nonsense, I do highly recommend those shows. They're really good, actually. Like the writing in that is just solid, and I actually blame. I promise I'm done talking about Dune now, but I blame the miniseries for one of my biggest problems with Dune 2, is that um, I guess in the book Jessica doesn't have that much to do in the second half, so both the miniseries and the movie compensate for that, but in different ways. And I really like Jessica in the miniseries. And in thinking part two, it just isn't it doesn't flow quite as well for me. And that was one of the things early on for me where I was like, oh, but Jessica's so great in the miniseries. Is that a fair complaint? I don't know. It's the only complaint I have. Like the only complaint I have. I probably should have given it I should have given it a 9 right away, but um anyway, yeah, that's my that's new.
Sweet. So let's move into the news of the week. Um, this is going to be sort of short and sweet, because at the end of this, we're going to talk about the Oscars and like some thoughts and stuff like that about the Oscars, winners, losers, whatever. So Venom 3 got a release date and a title. Venom, yeah, Venom: The Last Dance. Coming out in
Like
October
Magic
20th.
Mike?
I hope so.
That wasn't that the subtitle of Magic Mike 3? The Last Dance? I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up.
Probably.
Uh,
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, because why wouldn't it be on a Venom
Oh,
title?
sorry, it's Magic Mike's Last Dance. Big difference.
It's the
Phony.
same to me. It's the same.
I already hate it.
I as well. Um, I don't know why they keep doing this. The Venom movies were not very good. And it's going to be released this October 25th.
Wait, when is Craven?
Look that up.
Nobody knows.
I thought that was
I
October.
feel because I feel like that's October 30th.
That was supposed to be October of last year.
Oh, now it's August 30th for Craven.
Oh, August
That's
30th. Okay.
That's a bad release date.
Oh
Very
yeah.
bad release date. Of course, so was February 14th, but they didn't care about that one either. This one has me excited. Oh, you guys don't have any more thoughts on Venom, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, why would they do this? $5 if this movie gets pushed back to next year.
Which one? Craven?
Venom.
Oh, Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. This one I'm excited about. Kevin Williamson and Neve Campbell are coming back for Scream 7. And we know that a lot of people have been fired, scheduling conflicts due to writer strikes and the director bouncing out. So Neve Campbell is coming back for Scream 7. Kevin Williamson is reportedly going to direct this one. So that's kind of having me kind of excited since he is the writer of the first two. Question mark. I believe it is just the first two. And of course, Neve Campbell coming back as Sidney Prescott. I hope they paid her. I ain't even gonna lie. I hope Spyglass is like, yes, please come back here. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I have mixed feelings
Why?
because I love these movies, but I
Yes.
also got hugged by Melissa Barrera on Saturday. So I feel like I just want to tell them to bring her back. So if she's listening to this, it's awesome meeting you. I wish you were coming
Yes.
back for the next movie.
I wish we could all meet you.
I also met
We'll
Skeet
see.
It was pretty cool.
Nice. But I can't wait to see her in Abigail. So
That's what I said, and I got a mixed reaction from her. So I'm wondering if it's a terrible movie. Or she completely it wasn't like the end, it was literally at like 9 o'clock at night and she had been there the whole day of con. And it was her first con. So I have a feeling everybody was just really, really tired.
yeah.
But no, I am excited. I don't know. For me, I really, really, really think 6 is such a great like wrap up and love letter to the other 5 that I don't know what I think 7 would look like. And I can't help but feel like 7 is going to be where it's like, oh, well, let's just, who died kind of off screen that we can keep bringing back. And I'm like, I just see that happening. I don't know if I have faith in Kevin Williamson as a director. He's directed exactly one other movie, and I've forgotten what it was. I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I'm also just been binging Scream movies since Saturday, so I think I'm just in a mood to defend Melissa right now. It's not fair. I'm biased. Give me.
Moving on. So this one I'm upset about. The Batman 2 Part 2 has been pushed to October 2026. Mr. Reeves, what are we doing? Seriously. You have now a whole other year to get this finished and wrapped up. Bruh.
Yeah, I have a genuine question. Oh,
go ahead, Ryan. Oh, okay. I'll go. So I shared the article but didn't read much into it. I think it said something about how this is supposed to like push and give more of a center stage for the Superman movie. I don't know. Maybe I just am thinking that, and maybe I didn't read all of it correctly. But I'm like, come on. Why does it take 8 years to make a movie? I'm like it.
I think you're right though, Alex. I think that like the Penguin series hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah.
If I do remember correctly, Superman is supposed to come out July 25th. next year, and then this was supposed to hit like October 4th or something like that. So I can understand that, but do we really need to push it back a whole year though? Like Dune Part 2 March 1st, and it made $300 million. I think even
Well,
Part 1 came out in like March of one year, right? Or did it get pushed back to October?
October.
Was it in October? Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, whatever.
I guess I have two thoughts. Was it officially announced at a specific date before it got moved? Because I could not remember. For some reason, I was
Yeah,
racking my mind about like, okay, that would make sense then. Um, I guess my only thought is, I guess they probably haven't started shooting or aren't anywhere near shooting.
I doubt it. Yeah. I mean, because I know that like he said that last when part one came out and they kind of like greenlit part two, he was like, "Yeah, I have to write like the Penguin series," and then he wrote like he hadn't even started on part two yet, and then because like the initial date was for this year, sometime of this year, and they were like, "Well, I haven't even started writing it yet," and then the writer strikes happened, and they were like, "Oh,
Uh,
now we got to push this back even further," and then I do know when. It's like sometime earlier this year, I think it was even before they gave like an initial date for Superman. I think Matt Reeves was like, yeah, October 4th or whatever of 2025. And then they did Superman and now they're going to push it back. I think it has something to do with the writing process or something, or maybe Pattinson isn't in shape anymore. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
Robert, quit getting fast food. You need to be able to fit in the suit.
I maybe. I don't know.
That's too
Um,
funny.
Super Mario Brothers 2 is coming, announced on Mario Day.
I was so surprised to see that.
Not really.
Yeah, right.
Um, Yay, I guess. Is there any more characters that we can shove into this movie?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. There's like you can even go with yeah, I don't know, something like King Boo kind of thing. I don't know. They could go there's a whole plethora of Mario characters and like stuff that you can just go on and like um there was a concept, and I'm pretty sure this was like fan made. It wasn't anything official, but it was like doing the whole backstory between like how Peach and Bowser had some type of when they were younger, some type of like sort of like a high school like what is it, connection, and like she like humiliated him or something like that. I don't know. There was some concept art and they're like, "Oh man, this is totally how they could spark, whatever happens into." And I'm like, "No, that's not happening. That's too weird. That's too like that's just too much like teenage drama comedy kind of thing. Nah, that's not happening." Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they have a release date now. It's what, 2 years, 2 years and change from now of April something of 2026. And I'm like, yeah, that's about right. Um, yeah, I'm the Mario movie, while not perfect, is fun enough to merit a sequel. Um, Now this is where I don't know if we'll be like, okay, this is where we really see if they can actually make a content worthwhile and see if like the first one didn't just make a lot of money because oh, it's Mario, regardless of how crappy it is or not. It's not. It wasn't crappy. It was good. It was fun. It was in my top 10, I'm pretty sure last year, even though I'm biased. Uh, yeah, Mario 2, sure, let's do it. Um, don't know where they go, but
That
I'm not
I think
paying.
it's the working title right now. Actually,
Let's do it.
let's
Let's
do
it
it.
go.
Sure, let's do it. That's
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it'll
Um,
be.
because money.
They won't have a
yeah.
subtitle. They'll just call it Mario Brothers 2. You know, but why break a thing?
We need a Luigi's Mansion movie, by the way. Illumination, if you're listening.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be a
We
thing,
need
and then like, oh, they're gonna
with
show you
Charlie
like a
Day.
mini. Yes, they'll, and if it proves to do money, I mean, why not? But they'll probably do like a Captain Toad mini series, something like that. Some little. Oh, they'll probably even just make it like a short somewhere. You know what? I'm betting money that that happens in uh
How much
the
money?
second movie.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
was gonna say they do shorts before
I've got
things
a
now
five
sometimes.
dollar bill right here.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it. So, I love Mario though.
I'm excited
All
for
right.
more of Brian Tyler's music.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. That was a if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just kind of jazz it up a little bit, but just use all of Mario's scores from all the games. Like that.
All right. I know we usually end on a sad note, but this time I'm not going to end on a sad note because the second piece of news I want to talk about is going to lead into the Oscars. So Akira Toriyama, I hope I said that right, has passed away.
Yep, that's nope. Yep.
Okay, good. He's the creator of Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm.
Sad face.
Yeah. I shared that, and probably because they just wanted it, respect the family, his privacy and all that. But he actually died a week prior to like everybody like finding out. Because it got announced on March 8th, and he actually died on the 1st. So, but yeah, pretty sad. He did that. He did what is it? Chrono Trigger, a Raleigh. I think it's kind of a not really well known anime, and then it sort of is, but sort of isn't. And then he did like I think one called Doctor Slump, but he's been like Dragon Ball heavy, obviously, since the '80s, like the
Right.
beginning of the '80s, probably. But yeah, so pretty sad. Um, yeah.
Sad face. Okay, so the last bit of news, I just kind of wanted your guys' opinion on this. So Shamik Moore, who is the voice of Miles Morales in the first two Spider-Verse movies, the animated Spider-Verse movies, has been blasted for tweeting that Spider-Verse got robbed um, for winning Best Animated Feature in the Oscars. So he's getting a lot of flack for saying that he was robbed. Um,
Mhm.
I personally, I'm just gonna put this is my personal opinion, is I don't think that he should have gotten blasted for it. He was upset. I'm sure that they've been making like a lot like I know that all these animated movies are a lot of painstaking like hard work into like doing all this stuff. And
Yeah.
especially the Spider-Verse, that movie was what, 2.5 hours long? That's a long animated movie. I'm not sure how long The Boy and the Heron are. I'm waiting
About
to
two.
see it. Is it
Yeah,
about
too.
two? So that sounds about like Spirited Away as well. Um, I've heard that The Boy and the Heron is a very good movie. Um, I know I loved Across the Spider-Verse. Is it really?
I I think it's better.
Um, but I don't think that he should get blasted for this. I mean, he's like, it's his opinion. Like he feels he got robbed. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, first off, I don't envy Academy voters for having to pick between a 2.5 hour technical achievement that's one of the most incredibly created animated films, te- visually have ever made,
Right.
or one of the greatest animated creators films, his potentially magnum opus, done in traditional hand drawn, being potentially the first to win hand drawn in 21 years.
Right.
And both of them are critics love both of them. I really like both of them. I think I'm just like, dude, you got part two coming. It's probably gonna win, and the movie made a lot of money. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I didn't. I just you know, it was the. I mean, I don't know. It was the front runner for pretty much the whole season. Boy and the Heron was the upset. I agree. I don't think it was something where people need to get on them. Like, everybody was upset about Barbie getting snubbed, and then nobody got on anybody for saying that, even though
Yeah.
everybody else was making fun of potentially all the other nominees. And I'm like, I don't know. It's whatever. It's the Oscars. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, who cares what he
Leave him
says? And
alone.
also, what does he care if they didn't win? Like,
Yeah.
the first
Well, I
Spider-Verse,
mean,
he got to be there
it,
for that.
yeah, it could be a case of like, I think people are blasting him because it's like I think it's more or less just the way in which he said it. Like, sure, you can be upset that you didn't win. It's your movie. You were attached to it. You put a lot of effort into it, and you put, there's a lot of creativity. And like Clint said, there's a lot of jobs, and there's countless hours that go into this. So when you lose a major award like that, sure, you feel discouraged. And you know what? You're allowed to feel that way. But yeah, if I ever hear this kind of thing, I mean, this is more of a Clint will. I don't know if Clint knows this, but as far as the topic goes, Nolan Ryan, pitched for however long, was one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Does anybody know how many Cy Youngs he won?
Oh,
Nothing. He
zero.
didn't win.
Yeah.
He didn't win a single Cy Young, and he has by far the most strikeouts I think of history, and he's thrown I think the most no hitters easily by one pitcher.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is,
Was it
you
like
can always be
9?
second banana. Yeah, something like that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that he's thrown more than one is pretty remarkable. And he's thrown almost double digit ones, if not actually double digits. So what I'm getting at here is, you can still be great, not win an award, and you can be the greatest of all time too. So just let's think a little. Let's cool the jets before we. But you're entitled to feel,
Right.
yeah. So it is what it is.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, then we're gonna go over some Oscar winners. I won't go deep into like all of these because there are a lot of technical stuff in here. So we're gonna end with Best Picture, obviously. So actor, Cillian Murphy, for Oppenheimer. Best Supporting Actor went to Robert Downey Jr. Actress, which did surprise me, was Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Mhm.
I thought Lily Gladstone was gonna walk away with that, history making and all that
Yeah.
jazz. Divine Joy Randolph won Best Supporting Actress. She deserved that. I love that movie.
Mhm.
Animated feature, as we just talked about, was The Boy and the Heron.
Mhm.
Cinematography, let's see, directing. Christopher Nolan got his first Golden Statue for directing for Oppenheimer. 20 Days in Marple got Best Documentary. Wow, I can't talk today. More editing. International feature, got Zone of Interest, was winner. By the way, Ryan, that's actually coming to Max on April 5th. So if
Cool.
you
I
miss
can
out,
watch it and be depressed.
there you go. That's why we watch movies. Oppenheimer got winner for musical score.
I just pictured Nicole Kidman as you said that.
What Was I Made For? Billie Eilish got original song, and of course, Best Picture got Oppenheimer. The anime. Where's the? Sorry, I was looking for the writing. So, adapted screenplay went to American Fiction for Jefferson got American Fiction, and original screenplay was Anatomy of the Fall. Thoughts, worries, concerns, anything?
I don't want to say nobody cares about the Oscars, and you may have said it, and I don't know if I just kind of missed it. But the only one I cared about was Best Visual Effects.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Godzilla took it. Yeah, Godzilla took it.
The visual effects was Godzilla minus
I
one.
was sitting.
Sorry.
I was sitting there. I was like this, and I was just waiting. And then as soon as Arnold, he goes Godzilla, and I was like, yeah. What? That's the only time I've ever done that for an Oscar.
And they were up against some good people here. The creator, Guardians 3, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. Well,
yeah. So I mean, it wasn't
really?
going against. It wasn't just a piddly nothing kind of competition, right? Yeah. So
yes.
I mean, it earned it. It very much earned it.
I cheered. It lost me a point, but I cheered. I thought the creator would win.
I did too.
I thought as well.
But I'm glad. I mean, they were all there, which means they all flew from Japan, presumably, with their Godzillas, which is so cool.
One of the things Matt said about like that moment when the guy's up, giving his speech, he's reading the paper, and Matt was like, "Could it have killed them to have an interpreter for them? Like, how much money is that going to cost? Like, let the man, speak from his heart. Let somebody, why does he have to, struggle through English, So
I felt so
whatever.
bad too because it was obvious a couple of these winners. I really enjoyed watching a couple of these, like Emma Stone, because they obviously did not know they were going to win, and so like the lack of prep was very heartfelt. Actually, I was
Yeah.
like, he probably practiced that speech once or twice, on the flight or something, and then they were like, "Oh, we're against a bunch of Hollywood blockbusters." I heard that they were like this year they discouraged potential winners from even having stuff written down so they could be shorter and not just go through a list of people thanking like their agents and stuff. So everyone
Yeah.
with a list, I was like, you didn't expect to win. That's nice.
Yeah. Really, for sure.
Um, yeah, I don't have that many thoughts. I love the Godzilla one.
Hmm.
Um, Score was good. Not the best nominees, but of those, Oppenheimer was probably the best.
Mhm.
Um, Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone. Those two were the most neck and neck I've seen probably in any recent award ceremonies. Rachel and I were even studying them ahead of time and looking at like how they split up like the BAFTA and the SAG awards. I'm like, goodness, could you cut this any closer? So I was going to be happy no matter what. I think. I don't think it was a malicious snub for sure. Um, I'm just Ken was the highlight of the freaking night. Just give it the give it the award. You clearly like it more. Everybody in the room likes it more. They're the ones who voted.
Poor Ken.
I thought I thought what was I made for is just such a slow, depressing song for a fun comedy.
Yeah. So I do
And
have I do have one
go.
question for you both, real quick. Noticing so Dune Part, I just read this article a little while ago. So I did notice that Dune Part 2 was made under $200 million, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
180, I think.
Okay. So, and then the visual effects, both of these movies, so the creator and the Godzilla minus one, obviously Godzilla minus one was only made for what, like 20 million?
If that. Yeah.
Something like that,
I think
right?
15 is what they said,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
even they admitted they just kind of guessed at that number.
Yeah.
Tweak.
What a thrown
Um,
together movie to win
right?
an Oscar, the first Oscar in Godzilla's history.
Yeah.
But I also know that the creator was made for like around 60. So I did read an article on Facebook. They were saying that they like this is proof that like some of these budgets are so out of whack. Obviously the creator visually was very stunning. The movie itself was
Well, I
left to
mean,
be desired,
Yeah.
but
I think
Yeah.
it's fitting because they just had a robot write their screenplay.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, I thought of it and I had to. It was okay. It's just
yeah.
let's
But
go
I
here,
mean,
explosion. Let's go here, explosion. Let's go here, explosion.
I mean, but do you guys agree that like some of these budgets are getting way out of hand? I mean, especially because like I mean, Dune Part 2 is 200 million, and yes, it is Denis Villeneuve. Um, that does he does like Garth Edwards does not compare to Denis Villeneuve,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think part of it is I would say Dune is probably an exception. And
Mhm.
I'm saying that because I like it, and I have to think of excuses now for it. Um, but for real, I mean, I do think Dune carries such a heavy like you need everything. You need effects, you need costume design, you need Foley, you need a really unique score with a full orchestra. You need Zimmer for half a year. You need a completely all-star cast. I think that is the movie that kind of does justify most of their budget. What I but I agree with you is what I don't get is like everything Disney put out last year, where it was like how does Indiana Jones cost $300 million with eight
How does
actors
the
in front of some
Flash
green
cost
screens? Yeah,
$300 million?
and it looks like crap. That's the thing for me is like Dune. Okay, Dune is expensive, but it looks like it's expensive. Indiana Jones
right.
looks like it was made for the creator's budget, and the creator looks like it was made for Indiana Jones' budget.
Yeah. So
I
it's
don't
like
know.
it just goes to show that it's like where are you using this budget effectively? Like where
Right,
exactly? Because like
right.
is it being salaries for the names that you have, or is it like actually going into the effects?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know that.
I would also wonder for a couple of these, and probably a couple coming up, how much of the budget is accounted for because of delays put with the strikes, which probably gave them more post production time, but
Oh,
also
maybe.
potentially increase their costs as they're stalling. I know they don't put marketing in budgets, but you still have to redo your marketing. You have more time to finish your effects. You have more time to do reshoots if any. Deadpool 3 probably was still shooting through a lot of the, I don't know, I can never tell how much of the movie is going to be real or not. But I
Yeah.
think we're going to see a little bit more of that discussion coming up soon too.
Yeah.
Um, but I liked it's a good point though, because reminds me of the speech that one guy who won that one award said about like maybe Hollywood should not gamble with $200 million movie, instead gamble with like $210 million movies, something like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know if that
yeah.
math works, but good speech.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to our main topic, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action remake,
Now we
retooling,
watched the M Night
remix.
film for this, right? That was the work we had to rewatch the M Night film for
You
this.
you could have watched that all. Yeah, that's all on
I
you, buddy.
I have never actually watched that. I almost want
And
to
you
as a test
shouldn't.
for
Oh
endurance.
no,
Yeah.
Alex, you should. Um, I
If you
watched
are
it
a glutton for
once.
punishment.
It is funny. It's really funny. Um, it's I thought it was laugh out loud hilarious. I think I don't know. I think it's laughably bad.
It it is laughably bad. That
Like, how you get a character's name pronounced wrong for the whole movie? It's not like you're reading it. Like,
Hmm.
it's his name is Ong and Soka. Like, just listen with your ears to the show.
I
Hmm.
can't. I no PTSD. I can't.
Anyway, I won't. I promise I won't quote that a few more times.
Which gives me the feeling that you are going to quote that a few more times.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so this is the Netflix live action remake, remix, whatever the creator said it was, Albert Kim. Um, so the Avatar: The Last Airbender, I don't know if anybody has watched the animated series that came out in early 2000s, but it is about a boy that is 100 years old that is needs to master four elements of the world: water, fire, earth, and air, to save the world from the Fire Nation and all that other good stuff. Um, so I don't know if I like. So this is like number two on my all-time favorite like animated series. Batman the animated series is my all-time favorite. Even the New Adventures of Batman and Robin or whatever was kind of like the Bruce Timm version or era of Batman animated stuff. That is my number one. Number two is the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, and yes, going into this, I was highly biased of like how they were going to do this, and I'm not even gonna lie that I tried very hard to have like rose-colored glasses when I was watching this 8 episodes, and I had to take the rose-colored glasses off because like halfway through probably episode 3, I was like, this is going way too fast. They tried to shove a lot of information into these 8 episodes, and yes, the 8 episodes are like an hour long, so there's a lot of information that they can get into in an hour-long episode instead of the animated 30-minute episodes. And yes, I understand that the book one is like 23 episodes long, and they're a half hour each long, and so they have a lot more information and stuff that they can put into 20 episodes of an animated series compared to 8 episodes of an hour-long series or first season of a series. But I couldn't get on board with like the breakneck pace of this series. The first half hour was paced very well because differences from the animated series to the live action series is that they give like this prologue of like what happens, and they give characters and they give faces to names that you get into the animated series. And as far as like the Fire Nation goes, and some of the airbenders, like you meet like some of his other friends and stuff later on in the animated series, but you actually get to meet them up front with the live action version. And I thought that was done very well. However, it's half hour of the first episode, so it's like quite long. And I think that it kind of like if they were, I think that if they were going to do it at this breakneck speed, they needed to either A, get rid of that half hour like prologue and just do it like the animated series and was like, hey, this is what happens. And everybody's like, now you're on board, let's go. But this one, they kind of introduce you to everything that's going on. Um, but if they wanted to keep that prologue, they needed to shorten it. Because like I said, it's a large chunk of that first episode. And so like you kind of like shove through the next like 7 episodes of this series um, with a lot of stuff that's going on. And yes, I think that the actors, the kids actors for each the main three are very good. I think Katara was my only weak link. Um, and again, maybe that's biased because she was always my favorite character out of the animated series. But I think she was the only weak link out of them. I like Sokka a lot more than I did in the cartoon. Um, I think that Aang, Gordon Corman, probably needs to go through some more acting classes a little bit because there are times that he is kind of like very wooden and almost like Disney Channel like. Um,
Hmm.
but I thought that Dallas Lynn did a very good job as Zuko. My other weak link would probably be Uncle Iroh. Um, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. I'll probably have to look it up later. Um, but in the animated series, I think Uncle Iroh was one of my top three favorite characters. But in this one, he's not as like, and I don't know how to describe it other than he's not as goofy as he is in the
Hmm.
animated series, and I think that's what made him lovable in the animated series, is that he's kind of goofy, but he's like goofy in a weird way where he's intentionally goofy to outsmart everybody else that's around him, if that makes sense. Where this one, he just seems kind of rigid at times.
Yeah, he's trying to
Uh,
be more of like a sage rather than like a kind of
right.
goofball. Yeah.
Yeah. Where in like the animated series, he's kind of goofy. He's just I don't know. It's the best way that I can describe it.
Yeah.
Um, Overall though, I don't think that the series is bad. It was very good looking. Like the bending and stuff like that was done very well. The special effects were done well. Not awesome, but they were done well enough to where does pass for like them bending and stuff. There are certain parts of this that don't look right. I think there's one time where she's sliding around the northern water temple where it looks like she's being pulled around somewhere.
Hmm.
But other than that, I think that it was done pretty well. I just think that if they were going to do the first season this way, I think that they needed to do kind of like, and I don't know if you guys ever watched this, but like the Interview with the Vampire series. So they cut that book in half. So it's a long book with a lot of information that is going on. So if you've seen the movie, like all of that stuff that happens like in the first half of the movie, it happens in the first season of Interview with the Vampire. And I think that they needed to do it with Avatar. I think they needed to do the same thing, where they did like the first half of the first season and they ended it somewhere like when they go to like this uh the spirit world. I think that it would have been a better way to do it instead of trying to shove all that stuff like M. Night Shyamalan did in like that movie. They just try to shove too much information in 8 episodes. So I would give it a 6 just to pass it, but not higher than that.
Ryan, you go ahead.
Okay. My favorite part is when there's six guys all like stomping, and then they pick up like this tiny little rock and throw it. No, wait, that's the original movie again. I just freaking love that scene so much, and I wanted you to remember how dumb people got paid to make that scene. Um, I actually really liked it. Um, and I've seen a lot of there's such a spectrum of like hate and awe for this show that I've
Mhm.
seen on the internet, and I'm like, I kind of feel comfortable where anybody wants to be. I have a hard time seeing anybody who hates it. I've seen a couple things where it's like people are like, "Oh, it's just as bad as the movie," and I'm like, "You are blind and deaf." Um, but anybody who says it's because the show also has never seen it. Um, it is such an impossible task, and that was the thing I couldn't get over. It's my third favorite animated show, Bebop, Korra, Avatar. So it's not too far behind Avatar, and also a thing I've already seen on Netflix or adapted by Netflix. So I felt good going into this one with a more clear head. I was like, okay, I need to not have the Bebop mentality. Bebop sucked. Like, I
Wow.
just can't. I can't get over it. Like, and I think that helped me with this was like there is such a thing as a pretty good adaptation and a not good adaptation. And Bebop just throws things out the windows and does things differently. I think this show had a lot of misses. Um, but I think it was more hits than misses, and I think that's because they tried different things. And I totally agree. I think the biggest thing I have in the whole show, and we expressed it when Rachel and I were watching it. We expressed it like this: we were like, "So is Aang gonna waterbend, or is Korra gonna waterbend? Are they gonna train anytime soon in Book One water?" But the important part is the show takes their time to let you get to know the characters during downtime. I mean, you get to see them grow with major decision making, uh, except for the Canyon episode. And I love that they make fun of that casually in the background by people talking about stories they've heard about it. What a bad episode.
Hmm.
Um, but I I I really miss the downtime, and I wish you're a Netflix show. I get you probably had to stick to 8 episodes and probably about an hour per episode. But what are they like 48 minutes a piece? Give us a couple minutes per episode of downtime and
Mhm.
just smooth up the pacing a little bit, just a little bit. And I think that would have gone a long way. I didn't find it, and this is just maybe it's the speed at which I watched it. We spread it out. I did not find it. I didn't find the breakneck pace very jarring. I've heard a lot that it is. I just didn't find it that way. I think it was just into the way they were combining storylines. And I don't know how much of them worked or didn't work to me. I don't think anything, except for one thing. I don't think anything was really broken. I don't think there was anything where I was like I've heard like people are like, why is Jet and Bossing say? And I'm like, why not? Like
Yeah.
he's doing his own random thing, and
Yeah.
Bossing say happens. You're taking two 30-minute episodes and you're putting them into an hour episode, and you're actually doubling that time with
Mhm.
the tunnel episode. I freaking love the Secret Tunnel song, and I'm so glad they included it. They knew all the fandom things to hit. But anyway, which is actually another thing I have. But anyway, um, so I admired the misses, even when they whiffed on it, right? Even when the pacing was off. I was like, good try. Like I like the way you wrote this. I kind of like the way they were trying to restructure it because um, more often than not, they left room for character growth anyway, and they did that. The moments where it was like, okay, we're missing out on Sokka growing as a character on his own with just them, but we are definitely going to double down on Sokka growing as a character with the Kyoshi Warriors. Even without the fact that he's a misogynist in this show, I still really felt impactful character growth in just the relationship he and Suki have for an hour. And I really just admired how much the show was able to make me start an episode by saying, "Why are we doing this?" and then end up with, "Wow, feeling some good emotions." Um, I think some of the callbacks are pretty heavy-handed, and I think they didn't know what their fan base was every once in a while. Clint, you're talking about the opening, and I agree. Sometimes I'm like, is this for Avatar fans because of all the fan service, or is it for non-Avatar fans because of all of the build-up and exposition? And
Mhm.
like I admire them introducing like Azula in season one instead of
Yeah.
season two because it's going to build better. It's going to feel natural in season two. But only fans of the show will get that inclusion. Everybody else will be like, "What's this useless character to me?" We're
Yeah.
just getting to know the big bad, kind of. So I feel like there were earnest. I feel like there were a lot of good decisions in the show that ended up being weaker elements to it. Elements. Visual effects were one of them too. I think there were times where I was like, "Oh, Appa looks great," and there were times where I was like, "Ooh, Appa looks like CGI."
Hmm.
And honestly, there were some weird things where I was like, they would get to see, Bossing say, no, they didn't go to Bossing say, they'd get to Omashu, and I'd be like, oh, Bossing looks fantastic. And they'd be flying off, and I'd be like, why do the trees look garbage, but Omashu can look great? Like, just, you can't green screen well anymore, but you can make it a whole rendered city with the rails and everything, whatever. Um, so the heart and soul for this show for me, Clint, I agree with you, and I strongly disagree with you. Um, I think performances were good on average. I agree. I'm just going to use the character names because I don't have everybody's names pulled up.
Right.
I think Aang was probably my pick for the weakest performance. But watching, it felt like they shot it sequentially because he really started to grow into the role by the end, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that kind of evolution of the character. What also helps is I didn't. He was really whiny early on. I mean, it's not his fault, but it was like they took Aang, who was a really fun-loving character, and been like, "Oh, it was gone. Oh, everyone's dead. Oh, this happened because of me." And I'm like, "Okay, Aang is funny, right? He's a fun character." I mean, like we were
Yeah.
talking about with Iroh, like they have this kind of mask of a different personality.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, I was not feeling Katara at all until the last two episodes, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is." But um, that's when I liked her in the original show. I just never really liked Katara that much in season one of Avatar. Um, I know, I know. The more I go back and watch it, the more I like the way she has a character progression. I have to remind
Yeah.
myself these are children. Um, and the guy who plays Sokka, he understood the homework
Yeah, he did.
perfectly and got the tone perfect, perfect. And while I don't know if the performances, especially of Zuko and Iroh, translate perfectly, I think they were the heart of the show for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could not have been anything but a conscious choice. And I did miss it. And how Iroh both uses humor as, I don't know, he uses it as a defense to disarm people. But also, I also kind of saw it as like a mask to hide the fact that he's just kind of this sad, broken person sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and instead, you kind of get that in a more traditional, strict sense. And he's still a loving character, and I did miss that for sure. But I also was like brought to tears twice during the show, or at least not tears, but I was tearing up. Every time it was like Zuko and I was like, okay, these guys are great. And then later on, I was like, okay, these guys are really great. These guys did their homework. And then they had some flashbacks that we get earlier in this. Then we get them. I think in seasons 2 and 3 later. I think
Mm-hmm.
mostly in 2, in like Tales from Bossing Say, and then like Zuko and the crew. And there were moments where I was like, gosh, these emotional beats rock. And then we cut to like a Tide ad because I pay for I don't pay for non-commercials. But I was really feeling it. The thing that hurt it most for me was that episode 6 ends with Zuko like walking back, going back to the ship, and the crew is all there, and they all move off to the side. And I was like, gosh, if the show ended right here, I'd give it a solid 8. The last 2 episodes were fine, but I think it peaked right there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked a lot. I'm done. I'm sorry. I enjoyed it. I think it was a good blend. I think the score was another one where it was like, yeah, good callbacks, good new music. People who say like, oh, it's dumb that Avatar Kyoshi showed up. I'm like, shut up. That was an incredible sequence. I don't care. The movie made their own lore. The show made their own lore. Whatever. I feel like I'm just spoiling things now, but I don't care.
Yeah. It's been out for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, there is a detail that I did not like, and then I'm done. I really, really, really like in the original series, and actually goes hand in hand with, I don't think Katara and Sokka should have been in the spirit world, but I really like what they did with them there and how we connect more with their backstories and emotionally kind of understand them better as characters. Good way to turn around a dumb excuse for just having to be there. So Ko is terrifying in the animated series, and he's especially terrifying because he's killed an Avatar in the animated series, and in this one he hasn't. And I'm like, that's the weight. That's like spirit can be more powerful than you. He's already got 2 lives, 3 lives past there. Waterbender, I forgot his name. Karuk,
Brooke, yeah.
something like that. Yeah. Um, and I love that in the animated show because it's terrifying. Aang is a kid who then has to come face to face with something much more powerful than he is. And in this, it seems like something he can just go do a fetch quest for and come back and he's done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling it. That was my nitpick there.
Ryan nailed a lot of what I liked about the show. I feel like it should be renamed to Zuko, The Hunt for the Last Airbender, because
Not a
I
bad
felt like
title.
I because it kind of played out that way where it focused, and you guys have both mentioned it, where they focused heavily on Zuko and his backstory. Now, it's been such a long time. I don't think I've ever really watched the original animation all the way through. I know a lot of chunks of it, and I don't remember when certain things were revealed in certain seasons. So like Zuko and his past and his extremely strained relationship with his father. They bring that to light early, and it's good. It was I didn't expect how much they were gonna focus on that, but it was good, and that's why episodes 6 and 7 they kind of sprinkle it all throughout, but especially 6 and 7 were better for me. Ryan, you mentioned Ko, and I like that episode, but I don't like that. I felt like there was not filler. It felt stale to me. It just like we were putting this in, but I felt this whole spirit world thing. It just was like a kind of a
That's
bump in the
where
road.
that's where I best agree with Clint by saying doing these an hour long, but combining story beats didn't really work for pacing. The Spirit World
Yes.
episode being 20 minutes, Aang can go off by himself, by himself. But being a long running show, they were like, oh, we have to have Sokka and Katara stuff, and then also let's get Roku and his stuff in here. And I'm like,
Hmm.
pump the brakes, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it did have issues with pacing, but it's not a completely bad. Like I kept thinking the entire time when you try to do this, and even like when Disney tries to do live action remakes, there's obviously there's a kind of a spirit to animation that you just no matter how hard you try, it's just going to be impossible to do it in live action. There's not a fluidity. There's not like this imagination. You're taking something that's in your imagination and you're making it into staleness. Staleness, like it's gonna be limited by what a physical body and physical costuming and effects, everything like that. You're gonna be limited. So I tried to think with that mentality. And you know what? And it helped me because it was just like, well, you can't capture that charismatic, fun Aang really that much, but that part you can, and that's why I agree with both of you that Aang is probably, as far as acting goes, is one of the weakest points in this. Not that he's bad; it's not bad. Is
It's a
what
lot to ask too.
it is a lot to ask, and I'm like Matt and I were talking about it. I think it's not a completely like, oh man, he just needs better acting. I think that's also where writing and not that great direction for him specifically came in. I think I at times it felt like he was just like reading a script, like Clint said, very wooden, very
Mhm.
like that, and it just I'm like I'm supposed to be whimsical. His nature goes with literally his the attribute in which he knows, which is air. Air's supposed to be very light, very blah blah blah. And I think that's kind of what goes into the original series being so well. Is that he's fun, he's charismatic, it's not really like yes, he's got this huge sense of like responsibility being the avatar and having to, be the icon that the world focuses on as like a to save the world, but he still is fun and like still is not, happy-go-lucky kind of deal. Whereas this, it just like he tries, but it feels rigid and a little a little too like Clint nailed it. Is very wood. So, but that's not to say that he's bad. I don't feel like anybody was like bad in this. Um, Zuko actually was my favorite because I got a good. Did anybody else feel like he sounded a lot like the original guy? I had to look up to
Yeah,
see if there was any relationship between the two.
I saw him on Saturday too, actually.
Oh, that's
did
pretty
you really?
cool.
There was an Avatar
Um,
panel. I didn't get close to him or speak to him, but there was an Avatar panel that was pretty cool.
and I thought, he Ryan said, he said, these guys did their homework, and I was like, yep, this guy definitely he he did his homework. He's got the anger and the not betrayal, the heartache of not really ever being good enough for his father and this and that, and it's just he did really really well. And Clint, even though I agree with you about Iroh, I also don't agree. It's like I know he's not as like fun and like he's not just goofy like the original. Like it's good and bad.
I
That's
got it.
fine.
He's great, but he's not lovable.
About Iroh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't. This guy doesn't have the necessary. I don't think he has the lovable quality to him, but he
yeah,
has that like air of greatness. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
yeah.
Well,
But
they took away the goofiness and they focused more on the this this father son like dynamic that you know spoiler I'm like Ryan, very spoiler right now. Um Iroh's lost his son, and very much in a sense, Zuko's lost his father, even though he's, trying desperately to win it over. And they really focus on this father, and it is right there for you to say. It's like it's not even like implied. It's obvious that that's what they're going for. And they show this dynamic and how these two need each other in the roles that the other doesn't have. And I think that was where they tried to flex the writing as much as possible, and I think it's good. I like it. Those it gives it some drama. It's very um I won't say rounded completely, but it's good. I like that, and for the most part, all the cast, everybody was written well, and I think they all did good jobs. And there were obviously the effects of bending water and air and all that. Is it gonna look a little like weird? Is it gonna look cheesy? At times, yes, but it's not bad. It really isn't. I tried. I kind of said this before, but I'm trying to think: is how hard is it going to be? And it's an impossible task to take this animation, and make it real life, and have these things that it's hard to capture in real life. And I that's what I judged it on. So there's somewhat of a curve, but not it's slightly. I would say as a whole, this season gets a 7, and I really one way or the other would be hard pressed to move. Um, I I don't know. I'd like to see. I think they've been greenlit for the next 2 seasons, and so I'm on board with this. I like it. I agree that the pacing's a little it definitely needs work for the next one for the next season or two. Um, and like you said, they're kind of up against it's up in a challenge. It's like you're cramming all the story into
yeah, it is only
so
an uphill battle too because each season of
yeah
Avatar I think is better than the last.
yeah.
Mm.
So I think if they can and I didn't like Sokka at first. I think it just because the actor, and he did a really good job as the season went on. I think this is kind of just generally Sokka's um character dynamic too, where you don't really like him at first, but as the character grows and you kind of you know peel back that
Peel
heart
the
layer.
onion.
Yeah, peel the onion. you get that character, and you start to, and I think that's why I almost didn't like the actor at first. But I was like, that's the character. He did a good job. He did solid. Um, Katara, hits and misses. It's not it's not a completely bad performance, but overall, series is perfectly fine. I think I was like, this might be the best that rendition that you might be able to get out of making like such a great animation.
I think that was my thought as well when I gave it a 7, because I was like, the only things that would change, bring it closer to the show and invite more scrutiny. Um, there are little things that change, but
Yeah.
I'd have.
So
I'm gonna spoil something. I'd have Zhao get dragged off into the spirit world. Oh, and 2 on adaptations for that happening.
How? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
but I just want him to come back in if they do Korra. So
Yeah. So 7 out of 10 is pretty agreeable with me. So yeah, it's a fine show. I mean, it's a fine season anyway. So yeah, you can find
I
much worse stuff,
I
obviously.
agree. Because I know that I'm the lowest of this totem pole here.
that's okay.
Um,
We have to have somebody. We can't all agree.
right.
Yes, we
I
can,
I
Ryan.
just I just think that they need to fix that pacing. They need to fix that pacing.
Mhm.
And I think I'm comparing it to like One Piece because
Yeah.
I never watched one like the anime One Piece, right? And so I've heard rumors that like the first 8 episodes of the 8 episodes of this first season for One Piece is like the first 160 something episodes of the anime. And I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good because if they paced it that well in One Piece, the live action, um, again, I've not seen the anime, but I think that the One Piece, like the live action, did pace it well. That you start to kind of like feel for some of these characters, and you start to kind of Luffy and what's her name? Nina. Is it Nina? Can't remember her name now.
Got me.
But you start to kind of like feel for some of these characters, and he's gonna look it up.
I don't know why I can't remember either.
Um, God, what is her name? But I think they transition to each episode very well with with One Piece, the live action one. With this one, it is
Nami.
so Nami. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Luffy, Nami, and Zoro. Zoro's easy.
so yeah, but with this one, they just like it's so clunky and it's so fast that it was just like, okay, if I hadn't watched the show, I'd have been like, what the is going on from one episode to the next? And I like I know that they talk about the Avatar coming and there's like certain like things that they say and stuff that you kind of pick up on and like they reference like episodes that they don't show from the animated series into the live action series or whatever. But again, like I guess to me, there's just so important things that they do in the first season or book one of the animated series that I wish that they just took a little bit more time with in this one, like the spirit world stuff. Because I think that was just kind of like flushed on us, like you're supposed to know what the heck they were talking about. And like you said, Ryan, the water bending, that's the whole point of this. Like he's supposed to be learning well, the other three elements, and he doesn't even do that. Because I remember in the animated series, he starts to kind of like learn a little bit.
Yeah, and I will say it's a mixed complaint because I think it's like he does some, and in season 2 they make a joke because Toph's being tough on him, and he's like, I barely learned waterbending. But at the same time, Katara spends a ton of time in season 1 learning waterbending, and Aang spends a lot of that time being a bad student, and none of
Right,
that was there either. And I'm like, you don't even get the attempt at the characters trying to learn this stuff.
right.
Sometimes you get like the sequence where Aang coaches Katara, and then the second sequence where he does the exact same thing, and she makes like a little ball of water and then like the water whip. And I'm like, you have 8 hours. Do a little bit more, just a little bit.
This is Kishi bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm very
Did you like when the
what's the
old
word?
woman walks us through the opening monologue word for word?
I literally said it out loud. I was like, this is what we're doing? Okay, let's do this.
It was it was on the nose. The cabbages was on the nose too, but obviously that was
Yeah.
like a chewing on the nose.
But
Um,
see, like you said, Ryan, those are parts of the live action that I didn't appreciate because, like you said, like Jet, like he's in some random in the animated series, he's in some like random like earthbending town. Why not bring him into Amashu? Like
yeah,
like you said, it's just it kind of makes sense just to move him forward a little bit. That's the type of stuff I do agree with. Like Azula. Yeah, I do think that introducing her maybe a little bit slower instead of like those last couple episodes is like here she is all the time. And then but yeah, introducing her, getting to know Lord Fire Lord.
oh, I thought you were saying Lord, like you were trying to think.
Ozai.
Ozai.
Ozai. So you get to know him a little bit better. And yes, there are some things of like Zuko and Ozai's relationship that they had in season two or book two into this season that they brought forward that does make more sense. Unlike when you're watching, because you know all that stuff. But yeah, they have to fix that pacing. And if they don't do Toph right, I'm writing it off.
That'll be
Sorry.
yeah, that'll be a challenge for sure.
So
That character translates so well to animation.
hmm.
Um, but if there is a celebrity cameo, I want John Cena to play the boulder that Toph beats up.
The boulder.
Oh,
Yes, thank you, John Cena, for the Oscar presentation.
it was
All right.
fairly uncomfortable.
Yes. All right. So do we have anything on the live action remix of Avatar: The Last Airbender for Netflix?
I tried so hard to like think of some quotes and casually slip them in, but all the quotes that I could think of were so awkward and out of place that I would just be randomly quoting the movie. So yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Patel. Anyway, all right then. Not really sure what comes out next week, to be honest with you. Alex, you're the
Arthur the King.
You
That's
guys in
that
a
Mark
couple
Wahlberg
weeks to
film.
talk about uh Godzilla,
Ghost Ghostbusters.
the Godzilla X Kong
oh, that's
subtitle.
right. Ghostbusters: The Frozen Kingdom comes out before X-Kong. Godzilla X Kong. Whatever. Um, then yeah,
I
let's
don't
wait
think either of
for
those movies looks any good.
hey, you don't be mean to Ghostbusters.
I don't know why I'm so mean to Ghostbusters. I've gotten it. It just every time when the trailer comes on, I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, because I don't know. I just don't know.
All right, well then let's hold pattern until Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom comes out. You guys have anything else before we say goodbye?
I'm so behind on
Nope.
movies. I don't know. I
I don't know either.
don't think I
All
got
right,
anything.
guys. Then give us a comment, say hi, whatever, and just follow us on Facebook, all right? Until next time. See you guys later.